We will now go through all the steps of setting up a double exposure scene. In the project panel there is folder number 1, compositions, and in here are 15 folders, one for every scene. And I will open the scene 1, and I will open 2 placeholders for scene 1, one for foreground and one for fill. And now to start we only need minimum of 2 pieces of footage. Each can be an image or a video. And for foreground I have picked this image of a woman, which is in foreground footage folder. Here this image. And I will drag this photo into the placeholder. Now you can see it's much bigger than our composition, so I will scale it down so it fits in to the composition. And the next step is to extract this white background, or to create a mask around the silhouette of a woman, because this will define where the fill layer will be shown. And there are several ways how you can do this. You can make a mask here in After Effects using the pen tool, or like this, and so on. Or you can, okay, when that happens, you will create a shape layer if the layer is not selected. So for mask you have to select the layer and then start drawing the mask. But I will show you another way, and when you use a mask you can also do it in Photoshop if you prefer to. But because this image is a high contrast image, there is also an easier and faster way to extract this white background, and I will show you just how to do this. I will duplicate this layer, and now on the track matte column here, if the track matte column is not visible for you, then toggle this button here, and I will select the bottom layer and change the track matte mode to luma inverted matte, and you can see it made the white pixels transparent. So there is some extra transparency here which we don't want to, and we can fix this easily. To do that I will select this first layer and solo it. Now I will add a curves effect to this layer and just take down the midtones until they get more blacker or dark, more black. And when I make this invisible again, you can see that the extra transparency is gone. So this is how fast you can do it using a high contrast image. And now we'll add a fill layer to our fill placeholder. And I have picked one video clip from our video library, and the video library looks like this. You will also get a link to this library after the purchase, and you can here preview and download these clips as you need them, and we will be constantly adding more clips to this library. So this is an extra feature, and these are almost all in 4K resolution and in high quality. So I have already downloaded a clip from this video library, and it's in my footage folder here, this one with a sunset, and I will drag this clip now into the fill placeholder. And as you can see, this is much bigger, as in 4K resolution, so I will scale this down also, like this. Now to create a double exposure effect, I will open a scene 1 base composition. This base composition is for every scene in the scene folder, in scene 1 folder, scene 1 base composition. I will open this one, and here you can see the double exposure effect is already here, and we can make all the changes to the look here using this, mainly this controls layer. So I will select the first layer, controls, and all the controls are accessible on effect controls panel. And if you can't see Effect Controls panel, then go to Window and check it from here. And it can be that the Effect Controls panel is behind the project panel, like this. Then you can take it from here, drag it until this violet bar appears and release, and then you will have it open all the time. So now we'll go through the different controls, and let's solo the fill layer first so you can see exactly what's going on here. So for fill there are several controls, and the first is coverage, and if we take it down, this means that less of the fill image or video is revealed. The feather amount sets how much the reveal edge is feathered, and angle sets from what angle the reveal will happen, like this. So the opacity, this is the overall opacity of the fill layer. Then there's this parallax fill option. This is optional, and we'll cover it in a later tutorial. When we turn this on, you can see this grid appearing, and that means that we haven't set the parallax parameters yet. For this scene I will not use the parallax fill, so I will turn it off for now. Fill mode is by default on alpha, and that means that we are using alpha channel, or the opaque part of the foreground, which we created here. So it will take this opaque part of pixels and show the fill layer through these. And if we put it on invert, then you can see that it uses the transparency. And there are two more options here, which I will show you with another example. And for now we'll use this alpha mode and no invert. And for foreground, the controls are the same. Coverage sets how much of the image is shown. Feathers the edge. Angle, this sets from where the foreground is revealed. And opacity is the overall opacity. Now one more extra option here, full foreground visible. And right now it's by default it's on. To be able to see what this does, I'll turn this one also on. And we have to, let's go back, we have to add something into this placeholder. It's like an extra option, you don't need to use it, but you can. So I will put another image here with this guy, and let's scale this down. And I will also take down the saturation, also the opacity. Now when we go back, you can see a different effect, and you can put anything, a video also in this for full placeholder, foreground full placeholder, and you can get different kind of looks when using blend modes. So different kind of looks, different combinations. So this is optional, and remember that the minimum you need is only 2 layers, one for fill, one for foreground. These layers are marked with orange color, so you know that you don't need to use any of the other options. On the controls layer there are 2 more fill options, dark and light fill. And these control how these 2 layers here work. So I will show you. Turn on this dark fill. Let's solo this so you really see. So opacity for dark fill is now 0. When we put this to 100, it fills our matte with the one color, and we can change this color. For example, put this dark red, and now take down the coverage and feather this edge more, take it even more down, Now we'll put the foreground. Okay, so you can fill a silhouette image or silhouette video with one color, and this can be a great effect sometimes, easily with this dark or light fill. The light fill is exactly works the same way as the dark fill, except that the color is light. So you have two layers on top of each other. And we'll add some light fill also. You can see it fills the matte with one color. Coverage, I'll put it only in the top of the head, like this. Okay. And there is one more layer you can use here. This is blend foreground. And this is also optional. When I turn this on, solo this, basically this adds back your original foreground, this layer here, on top of all the layers below. So it's just an extra layer if you need it. And you can access the wipe from this layer here, like this. Okay, and let's solo these layers we are going to use. And so what's more, for every layer here there is a simple choker on effect controls panel. You can use this number, change this by 1 if there will be some kind of funny edge. It's like an artifact in After Effects, which comes from the way After Effects works. If you layer many masks or mats on top of each other, they can create like with a similar shape, they can create an extra like edge. And you can change this taking down or up this simple choker value. So it's just an option, you don't need to touch it if everything's fine. Yeah, and then on the controls there are two more controls, 3D effect and depth of field. But to be able to use these we need a depth map, which we will create in a later tutorial. So I will cover these later. And you can see there is this dark edge here. So when we solo layers, we can find out which is creating this. I would say this fill layer, or that the light fill is too small. And let's see if we use, you can see how this changed. This corrected this edge. So this is the way you can tweak the edge for every layer. And if you don't know where it comes from, then just solo the layers and see what happens, and you will see which needs tweaking. Okay.